The most common issue in growing carrots is getting them to germinate. Over the years, I've perfected my process where that actually hasn't been an issue for me until this year. In August, I planted just like I always do. I irrigated the soil ahead of time using the Garden in Minutes garden grid. I used seed tape and I direct sowed carrot seeds, and I chose several different varieties, specifically choosing winter varieties. Then after sowing, I irrigated again by turning on the Garden in Minutes garden grid, and then I covered with floating row cover. And that, which has been my secret to success in the past, was what I believe ended up causing me issues. But I didn't realize it until I waited and waited and waited. You see, carrot seeds should sprout in the fall in about a week. In the spring, it could be 2 to 3 weeks because of soil temperature, but at week 2 to 3 in the fall, I suspected something was wrong. Every time I lifted the cover to check to see if any of my carrot seeds had sprouted, nothing, not one. The soil was moist, so I couldn't figure it out. Usually soil moisture is the biggest problem with carrot seeds germinating, just keeping the soil wet enough until they start to sprout. But that clearly wasn't the problem. I kept thinking, trying to figure it out. It couldn't have been the seeds because number one, the seeds sprouted great in the spring, and number two, I had like 4 varieties, so what was the chances of them all being bad? Not very good. I simply could not figure it out until I took a step back and assessed the situation. Then I noticed the cover was on top of the bed. And because of the soil level being a little bit lower compared to the top of the bed, there was a space between the cover and the soil. And at the time of planting, we were still in the 90s to over 100 degrees. As I started thinking about it, it became clear. I had created a hothouse. No wonder the seeds weren't coming up. So knowing I still had the Garden in Minutes garden irrigation system going, so soil moisture wasn't a problem, I decided to take off the cover. Lo and behold, the seeds started germinating, albeit at a much lower rate than expected. My guess is that many had actually tried, but died in the trapped heat. My lesson, the floating row cover needed to be flat on the soil, especially for a fall planting. On top would have been fine for the spring, but that's not the case for the late part of the summer when it's so hot. In hindsight, I would have lifted up the Garden in Minutes garden grid. I would have laid the cover flat and then put the garden grid on top. And then I would have left it there until the carrot seeds started sprouting like I usually do. Lesson learned. My experience just goes to show that no matter how long you've been gardening, you can always make mistakes you didn't even realize you were making, and there's always room to learn something new. I hope by sharing this with you that this has been helpful for you, not just to obviously avoid the mistake that I made, but also to think through when something's not working, what all the possibilities could be. Sometimes we just have to step back and think outside the box. If you want to know exactly how I have planted carrots year after year the right way, for a year's worth of carrot harvest, check out this video. Also, just a quick note about the channel. Fall is a time when we're all trying to slow down just a little bit and enjoy what the slower time of year has to offer. With that in mind, we will be offering videos on the channel every other week through the end of the year, picking back up in January weekly. So make sure you're subscribed so every other Wednesday you'll get the newest video delivered to you. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that this has been helpful for you.